Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabrina Kofer, and on behalf of Choice and ACRL, I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Expanding Access Within Budget, Smart Patron Driven Acquisition and Flexible Licensing Models with Kanopy, which is sponsored by Kanopy. This session is one in a series of sponsored webinars from Choice and ACRL that addresses new ideas and developments of interest to the academic library community. Now I'll just put some links in the chat for where you can register for upcoming webinars or watch previous webinar recordings. Before we get started, I'd like to point out just a few features of the webinar software. All attendees who join the presentation are automatically muted and your cameras are off, so don't worry about generating any noise or feedback. We've got that taken care of for you. In the main area of the screen, you can follow along with the presentation materials. To adjust the size of the slides or video, you can use the divider in the middle of the screen to slide the sizes to your liking. We are using the Q&A feature today. Please use it to ask questions of our speakers or to share any comments. We'll answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the presentation, so please type your questions into the Q&A module as they occur to you. You can also use the upvote feature to highlight questions you like or would like to be addressed. Also, there's closed captioning available for today's session. To toggle the automated captions on or off, please use the CC button on the bottom right corner of your screen. Last, please note that we are recording today's program and everyone who registered should receive a follow-up email with a link to the archive version. And with that, we are ready to get started, so I will hand it over to Josh.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? First off, I wanted to introduce the rest of the speakers here on this wonderful webinar. We have Matt Gallagher from Binghamton University. He's the Director of Collection Development. We also have Angela Taylor, who is the Bibliographic Assistant and Coordinator of Streaming Media, also at Binghamton University. We've got Emma Cavelli, who is the team lead for this Smart PDA program, who's going to be speaking with us shortly, as well as Jerry Mena, who's going to be speaking on the Smart PDA program, as well as a content workflow analyst. And we've got Wendy Chamberlain, who's the Senior Manager of Content Programming, who's got a lot of great content she'll be covering saber on. And then there's myself, who's the Marketing Manager for Kanopy here and Overdrive. So welcome, everybody. And as Sabrina had said, we're recording this event and it'll be sent tomorrow as well. So going on to the next slide here, let's see. Just a quick look at the agenda. We're going to have an introduction to the Smart PDA program and what that does. We're going to be introducing Matt and Angela for their account on how they're faring with the Smart PDA program. We're also going to be looking through the catalog in terms of what's new, how it relates to Smart PDA and other things, as well as I'll be covering product spotlight, so things that you might not know about our product, especially as it relates to Smart PDA and how we can save your budget, and then some upcoming events that might actually help that way as well. So, and then we've left a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. So if you do have questions, please type them up. We will save some time at the end for that, but we will try to get to questions if they are immediately addressable. So, but we're going to save most of our questions for the end at the Q&A session or Q&A section. So right before we begin, I just wanted to remind everybody that Kanopy and Overdrive, whose main product is Libby, are now one company. We're moving forward together. So if you've not heard, just letting everybody know that Kanopy, who's known for streaming video, we've now joined up with Overdrive and their #1 product, Libby, which you may know from public library ebooks and audiobooks. So now you can actually get Libby for academic libraries as well, like yourselves, like your own, and you can actually request a trial of Libby if you'd like. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Emma, who's going to walk us through how we can actually save budget through Kanopy's Smart PDA program.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh, and hi, everybody. My name is Emma Covelli. I'm the team lead for the Content Workflow Analyst, or CWA team here at Kanopy. And as mentioned already, our topic today is supporting budget control and sustainability through Kanopy's Smart program. So to kick it off, we completely understand that budget is a constant factor that impacts librarians day to day in collecting materials. It often poses a challenge in deciding what to license and has demonstrated historical challenges with offering content through PDA. Kanopy has a number of different models that are available to help libraries achieve that, including subscription, as you can see in this visual here, perpetual licensing or ownership, and various levels of firm order upfront licensing of content. There's also PDA on Kanopy still, which despite having proven challenges in the past, our SMART program has demonstrated success since its release in 2020. And it's really a solution for libraries to comfortably provide streaming content in a PDA format that operates within the budget that's available. So partnering up with a content workflow analyst to monitor budget utilization and align content accordingly so your program never goes beyond budget. The SMART program and your partnership with us helps reveal opportunities as well to consider other Kanopy models outlined in this visual to best meet your streaming needs. So let's say that there's a title license repeatedly year over year that becomes available for perpetual licensing. The SMART program reporting and your partnership with your CWA will help reveal that information and elevate it to you in our reporting so that you'll be able to consider that long-term cost savings opportunity if funds allow for it. Switching over to the next slide. To introduce the Kanopy CWA or Content Workflow Analyst team, the SMART program is managed by Kanopy's librarians. Our title is Content Workflow Analyst, and we're currently a team of 6. All of us have hands-on experience working in academic libraries as well. We've worked in collection development and acquisition roles, and even as a subject liaison in several libraries across the United States. Collectively, we have over 35 years of experience post-MLS and are dedicated to supporting and partnering with libraries to provide these sustainable budget-controlled PDA programs. So with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Jerry Mena, to share more details about how the SMART programs are curated and managed.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jerry Mena, one of the content workflow analysts here at Kanopy and one of the faces from the last slide. I'm just going to give a general overview of the Smart PDA program. At its core, it's a collaborative, budget-controlled, and curated PDA program. It was designed over 4 years ago to offer a sustainable option for our partners that took their budget in mind while still providing access to their content needs. And next, I'll go into how we actually curate Smart PDA programs. We look at a variety of different things, including the needs and goals of the library, especially their collecting scope for streaming, their previously licensed content, historical usage statistics, peer institution data, like on highly used content or licensed content. And then we take all of this and any available data and metadata to do predictive curation. Typically, we curate by supplier so that any new title that's added to Kanopy from that supplier will be automatically added to your PDA pool. However, we also offer title level curation to better accommodate budgetary needs, as well as potentially high usage. Curation is then broken down into 3 types of content: inclusion, exclusion, and mediation. Inclusion is the content that is immediately available to your users in your PDA pool. These are titles or suppliers that you've purchased in the past, that faculty have requested, or any content that you know you'll definitely need. Exclusion is content that is not discoverable to your users. However, you are able to find it on your platform through your Kanopy admin account. It is just not viewable for users. This type of content is usually any content you don't want or any duplicate titles you already have access to through other streaming vendors. Excluded titles can also be moved at any point into mediation or inclusion. Next, mediation is content that is discoverable by your users, but is not immediately accessible to watch. These titles can be requested by users and approved or declined upon your review. These titles in mediation vary by library, but the most common types of mediated titles are episodic or short-form content like BBC or the Great Courses. And some libraries also choose to mediate content that is more typically viewed recreational. Next, I'll go over some of the benefits of the Smart PDA program. Many of our academic partners have communicated how switching to Smart PDA has helped streamline their workflow. For example, anything that's been licensed outside of PDA can be added to your inclusion list so that when that license expires, it can still be accessible through PDA. Anything that's heavily used and repeatedly licensed can be considered for longer term licensing through perpetual or 3-year licenses. As CWAs, we are also able to put together reports that show your library's usage and purchase history on these titles. We also send quarterly or monthly smart usage reports that work on whatever cadence for you. Additionally, your content pool is not static. We can scale content based on performance. If it looks like you have room in your budget, we can recommend titles or suppliers to be added to your PDA pool based on peer institution statistics, your purchase request history, or by how many times a title is even searched for. We can also scale back content if you're overspending to make sure that you don't spend more than your allocated budget. You can also manage your content yourself by moving titles into inclusion, exclusion, or mediation in the My Titles Curation tab. We monitor your programs daily and make sure you're up to date with any changes in spending trends. And now you've heard about how Smart PDA works and its benefits from me, but I'll hand it over to Matt and Angela from Binghamton to talk about how Smart PDA has worked and maybe not worked for them.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. So, hi everyone. Matt Gallagher, Director of Collection Development at Binghamton University. And let me just get these controls working. And then I work closely with Angela each month about how we are curating and essentially buying and licensing content through Kanopy's Smart PDA program. So just to give everyone a little kind of bird's eye into what our budget is. So we have $40,000 committed to spend with Kanopy each year as part of the Smart PDA Plus pool. Our total collection budget is about $7.5 million. So this represents about 0.5% of our budget. So it's not, it's not insane or eating up a ton. But, before the Smart PDA, when Kanopy rolled out the original PDA, that ballooned more than we were expecting. And so we were looking to kind of trim that back. And this has been working out really well for us. One of the things that I'll say is really nice is that we have been using Kanopy's Smart PDA for 3 years now, and there hasn't been talk of annual price inflation. So sometimes if you subscribe to an EBA with an ebook provider, for example, they want annual increases to that front list content. And so we are not seeing that through Kanopy right now as far as annual increase to what they expect from our annual spend, which I appreciate as someone who needs to manage all different types of subscriptions and inflation costs. So essentially, when a title gets triggered through our Smart PDA pool, a 1-year license is activated and that gets billed monthly. And so the way that we try to strategize on our spend is Angela and or the person who triggers the purchase will let us know if it's for a course use, and for things that are getting heavy usage within that first year and it's for known courses, we review the titles that are expiring and we always opt for 3-year perpetual when available. So if a perpetual license is on the table, we buy that perpetually. If not, then we opt for a 3-year. If we see that a title just had 3 or 4 uses, which is what kind of constitutes a trigger, we return that to our PDA pool. And if it happens to get triggered the next year, so be it. We will have another 1-year license to it. Depending on how the year goes, we will kind of assess how much we've spent at the end of the year. And, on May 15th, it's when our subject librarians stop spending their monograph funds. And that's when I essentially will sweep those accounts to see what balance is left over for an end of year spend. And so sometimes, we might only be at, 35,000 of our Kanopy budget, or we might already be at 40, but we want to target specific content for perpetual license acquisitions. And so there's always a process of kind of assessing the end of the year, seeing what the spend might look like if we're a little bit above, a little bit below. And usually we'll do a couple extra perpetual purchases to kind of fill out the PDA for our own, just for long-term use. Just to give everyone an idea of how our PDA is configured, just like Jerry was saying, we have the majority of the suppliers active. We only have 30 suppliers inactive, but there is a curated list of what is mediated versus what is immediately available. So there are about 30,000 titles that are discoverable in our PDA pool, but not all are immediately accessible. One of the things that we do each year is review the PDA pool. And so 2 notable additions or kind of changes that we made were making first run features and documentary educational resources immediately available instead of mediated. So, each year you can kind of go back and look how things, that was our first year when we weren't sure how popular and how much would get triggered. So we kind of held back a couple of the, in my mind, prime suppliers because we just weren't sure how gangbusters it would go. So we found after the first year that we were within where we wanted to be, and we added those 2 distributor suppliers to our immediately available PDA pool. On top of that, we have a couple additional collections. So we have an annual subscription to the Criterion Essential Collection, which includes top 25 titles. We did have an add-on for Kina Lorber, but we had a little bit left over 2 years ago. And so we just replaced that with a perpetual purchase target where we acquired a number of their films perpetually at I think it was a discount that they were offering as part of a sale. So sometimes you just have to take advantage of that. And you can kind of swap and figure out how things go. And then we also did a targeted perpetual purchase of DFA titles last year. I think everyone likes to see what the numbers are and how many titles we have. So these are some counts for everyone to consider, and we're happy to talk more about that during the Q&A. So we have a $40,000 budget. We spent $128,000 over the last 3 years, so a little over budget, but that was based on our own decisions about expanding perpetual access. It was not a result of the PDA program. That was decisions that we made to enhance our collection on top of what we said we would spend with Kanopy. Within the last year, we've had 124 activated, triggered, PDA licenses. And over the last 3 years, we have 115 live 3-year renewals right now, and we've purchased 68 films perpetually. The total plays is actually not a monetary figure. It is just how many times those videos have been played. And so we're seeing about 31 minutes per play and an average cost per play of about $8. And so, we continue to monitor that, and we always want them to be as low as possible, but we're happy with the way that this has been working out right now, given that access that our users have and how it's supporting curricula. And I think at part of these presentations, we always like to, whoever this partnered spotlight is, I think that they should, advocate for improvements. And so I just want to say that one of the things that we think would be nice about the PDA is if there was a little bit of a delay between the PDA activation and the invoice. It would be nice if there was like a 1 month cushion where we could review that license, maybe reach out to a faculty member who we think might have used it for a class. And then instead of having a 1-year license activation right away, you could review it and say, hey, we'd actually like to buy this perpetually at the onset. So that's something I think that would be really, really helpful for everybody rather than just this auto 1-year activation. I really like the statistics that Kanopy has to offer, but it would be nice to enhance that by having a counter compliant way, because that's how we are ingesting all of our statistics into Alma. It would be good to just have all of the statistics in that counter compliant form so that it's easily digestible. Obviously, streaming video content has distinct data spots that people want to that are interested in, but having a counter compliant form would be helpful too. And then this notion of expanding perpetual license offerings. So not every supplier offers perpetual license offering, and so I always would like, I prefer perpetual licenses over a 1 year and 3 years. So this is just advocating for Kanopy to continue to advocate with their suppliers for perpetual rights for academic libraries. And then the last bit is a bit more about the management of the PDA program. And so there are ways that the admin dashboard might be enhanced to, so right now, if you look at your licenses in the license area of the admin dashboard, it essentially bifurcates the licenses to be only PDA or only active licenses. It would be good to have a third category that kind of combines both of those, because you're often toggling back and forth. Right now, you can only search by title, so it would be helpful to search by supplier or any number of things other than title. Also, when we're looking at upgrades, it would be really nice to have the Kanopy ID to be able to kind of target things more specifically. Right now, it's only available through an Excel download. And a thing that would be great too is when you're looking at the titles in the admin dashboard to be able to see whether or not you can upgrade and what the price would be to do so. So those are all things that I think are relatively realistic enhancement requests. And I will finish my portion and pass things on to Wendy next.
Thank you very much, Matt and Angela. It's always wonderful to hear about the different university experiences that they're having with Kanopy, and I particularly love to hear about your suggestions as well. I think there's a lot of good suggestions in there. So just to introduce myself, my name is Wendy Chamberlain. I'm Kanopy's Senior Manager of Content Programming, and I'm going to be talking to you about Kanopy's video catalog. So I will be giving you an overview as well as highlighting some of our best and most popular content. And I'd love to segue into that by first showcasing some of the most popular titles at Binghamton. So let's move on to the first slide here and we can take a look. Binghamton's titles offer a unique perspective on how the strength of Kanopy's catalog is in both its breadth and its diversity. So while Binghamton's most popular titles overlap in many areas with what are our most popular subjects across all campuses, they have their own distinct viewing trends that I think demonstrate how, with such a wide-ranging collection of titles, universities can create their own collection customized to their specific needs. So let's dive in. As you may or may not know, Kanopy has over 30,000 titles across a whole range of subjects. Over 2/3 of our collection are documentaries, and within those documentaries, over half are in social sciences. And within social sciences, our most popular topics are definitely gender studies and race and class studies. And you can see some of those represented here among these titles. But we do have a wide range of subjects, and a couple of our other most popular subjects are media studies and film studies, which you can also see here. So, so as you can see on the slide, Binghamton's viewing trends include titles in the subjects of race and class studies, film studies, but we also see on here German studies, psychology, and also history. So let's take a closer look at some of their most popular titles. We'll start with top left, Agents of Change. This one's from California Newsreel and is particularly interesting at this time as we're seeing student protests across the country. This title is about the inspiring story of how successful protests for equity and inclusion led to establishing the first Black and ethnic studies departments at two very different universities, San Francisco State in 1968 and Cornell in 1969. Next, we have Ethnic Notions. This is also from California Newsreel. And Ethnic Notions is Marlon Riggs' Emmy Award-winning documentary that takes viewers on a disturbing voyage through American history as it traces the deep-rooted stereotypes which have fueled anti-Black prejudice. these are both great representations of some of the titles that do really well for us in the race and class studies category. Next, we have some wonderful film studies titles, including M. This one's from the Criterion Collection. It's directed by Fritz Lang from 1931. In his harrowing masterwork, Fritz Lang merges social commentary with chilling suspense, creating a panorama of private madness and public hysteria that to this day remains the blueprint for the psychological thriller. This is a must-have for any film studies program. People on Sunday, also from Criterion. This is also a German title from 1930. It's a unique hybrid of documentary and fictional storytelling. And then Rashomon, also from Criterion Collection, and another must-have for film studies. It's a 1950 Japanese movie directed by Akira Kurosawa, considered one of the greatest films ever made. And Happy Together, also Criterion Collection. This one's from 1997, Hong Kong, directed by Wong Kar-wai. New York Times called it stylistically brash and pulsing with life. Back to race and class studies, we have Race, the Power of Illusion. And by the way, this is hands down our most popular title on Kanopy across all universities. So it was no surprise for me to see it here under Binghamton's viewing. This is from California Newsreel, 2003. It's a 3-part documentary series that challenges one of our most fundamental beliefs, that human beings come bundled into a few distinct groups. Back to film studies and German studies, we have Berlin, Symphony of a Great City. This one's from Flicker Alley and from 1927. It gives an invaluable photographic record of life in Weimar, Berlin. And then here's where we get off the sort of the beaten path a little bit of what our most popular titles are, but I'm glad to see these here because it allows me to kind of talk about a different part of our collection. This is Group Therapy, a live demonstration. The supplier is psychotherapy.net. This specific title demonstrates the major themes and dynamics of group therapy sessions, but it is a great example of the content that psychotherapy.net offers on Kanopy. We have over 300 videos from psychotherapy.net. They're all training videos for therapists, and they cover a wide range of therapy topics like cognitive behavioral therapy, family therapy, couples therapy, child therapy, and much, much more. So these are very popular titles and great for psychology programs. And then finally, Ghosts of Stonehenge. So history, this is a great representation of some of our wonderful history titles. This one in particular is, it's a standalone documentary, but it's from PBS's Nova series. And it features recent groundbreaking archaeological digs that have revealed major new clues about Britain's enigmatic 5,000-year-old site. So thank you, Binghamton, for allowing us to showcase how your university is using Kanopy in your curriculum. We will go on to the next slide. I now have a few slides that I will do a deeper dive into some of our most popular subjects, and these will include both title and supplier highlights. So let's start with film studies. And our leading title there on the left is Chantal Ackerman's. And so this title's in French. I don't speak French, but I did practice this ahead of this presentation. It is Jean Dielman 23 Quai de Commerce 1004 Travaux Bruxelles. I hope I did that justice. So this title is really exciting. It's from 1975 because it is now considered, as of 2022, by British Film Institute's magazine Sight and Sound, the best film of all time. So if you know anything about Sight and Sound's decennial critics poll, so it happens every 10 years and it's critics. So they ask hundreds, thousands even of film critics what they think the best movies are. And it was Citizen Kane for, I believe, 4 decades. And then Vertigo came in as #1 in 2012. And in 2022, this title was chosen. And it is the first time a film directed by a woman has been in the lists, even in the list's top 10. So really excited to see that one there. Of course, there's a few other titles on here that, sort of speak to the great breadth and quality of what we have in film studies. Next, we're going to look at race and class studies, and here our highlighted title is Subjects of Desire, which explores the cultural shift in North American beauty standards towards embracing Black female aesthetics and features while exposing the deliberate and often dangerous portrayals of Black women in the media. So this one, I found a quote that describes it as exemplifying Black women's joy, unity, and empowerment in a relatable and inspirational way. It's been a really, really popular movie for us. And I think it's a great example of the kind of titles that we have in race and class studies. Next, we're going to look at media studies. And here our highlighted title is called Brainwashed. This documentary is by the celebrated independent filmmaker Nina Menkes, and it explores the sexual politics of cinematic shot design. So specifically, it makes the argument that shot design is gendered, that the patriarchal narrative codes hide within supposedly classic setups and camera angles, and that women are frequently displayed as objects for the use, support, and pleasure of male subjects. Next, we have gender studies. So this kind of rounds out our top 5 most popular subjects, and you can see we've got some really, really great, strong titles. So we will end with, on gender studies, our highlighted title, a well-loved title and a well-viewed title, RBG. I'm sure you've heard of this one. In it, it explores the life and career of United States Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and observes how her legal legacy has propelled the battle for gender equality. The LA Times calls it that she is a woman. This woman is a force, and the great service this clear-eyed and admiring documentary provides is to emphasize not just Ginsburg's work on the court, but how extraordinarily influential she was before she even got there. All right, so those are our subject highlights, and my last 2 slides are going to go into 2 of our other programs that many of our customers use to control their budgets, and one is Kanopy Base. So Kanopy Base is a flat fee package. It's got almost 9,000 titles within the package, and new titles are added quarterly. So Kanopy Base covers a wide range of subjects, including some of our most popular: gender studies, media studies, film studies, race and class studies, obviously the ones that I just got done talking about. But it also has science and the arts and history and business, law and criminal justice, education. It has a wide range of titles in there. And it includes suppliers like PBS, Kino Lorber, History Channel, California Newsreel, and many more. And then finally, I just want to talk briefly about our perpetual titles. So these were mentioned earlier by Binghamton, how they often, if a title is popular and used within a class, and if it's available with a perpetual license, they will buy it that way. And it's a great way to add a title permanently to your collection. So with one fee, you have it forever. And we actually have over 10,000 titles within this collection that can be purchased with perpetual rights. We are adding new titles quarterly. And we've got some really great suppliers in here. We've got Kino Lorber with over 1,000 titles. We've got PBS with over 1,000 titles, as well as Gravitas, First Run Features, and Film Movement. So some really high quality stuff that I suggest that you check out. And that's going to be it for me. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass it on to Josh.
Thank you so much, Wendy. We're going to head on over now. Thank you for that great comprehensive look at our deep catalog. We've got over 30,000 different films that we're always adding to our collection and catalog. So, but I did want to actually take a quick little pivot and talk about the product a bit. We were talking, I know there was a question about how PDAs are determined, how you can actually see who's triggering PDAs. We're going to kind of start delving into that a little bit more. And then you can see, especially with our administrative dashboard, that really powers a lot of these tools. You can see how they really help, especially with the Smart PDA program, but in general, really they're powerful tools to really help you keep track of where your budget is allocated. Right off, let me just say, here's the welcome screen that you can see when you log into the administrative dashboard. You can see there are various types of tools that you can actually access. One being the analytics dashboard, which we'll get into. Title management, you saw a preview of that earlier in the presentation. Supplier and catalog viewer, license management, so how you can actually manage the licenses that you have, as well as a financial viewer, which contains your invoices and your balances, mark records, and then just so much more. But if you would like to get a full, trial as well as a walkthrough of this comprehensively, you can also always reach out at the end or reach out to anybody here, and we can get you set up for a comprehensive walkthrough. But first, let me actually go through some of these powerful reporting tools that you do have, and one being something that you see on the analytics page, and that's the daily activity that you see. You can see on the right-hand side, there are, you can see how people might be using things cyclically. A lot of times it looks like with this particular case, they're watching things during the week. It might drop down during the weekends. It's kind of great to see exactly how your campus is utilizing your videos. And then you can see aggregate minutes viewed, especially if you're curious how much usage is getting how much usage you're getting out of the Kanopy program that you have. And it's a great visual overview of what is happening and the health of your, not necessarily health, but the actual volume of your Kanopy program. And then moving forward, we've got some really popular features here, like the top 10 videos. So Wendy earlier was talking about what the top 10 videos of all time or top 10 videos of Binghamton were. With your Kanopy program, you can see what those top 10 videos are on the dashboard. You can also see what kind of devices are being used to play your titles. So here in this case, you can see the vast majority of people are using the desktop or laptops to actually watch these films. And then you've got mobile phones, tablets, and then a very small sliver that shows television. So people aren't really watching things on television. They're probably just using it for class assignments and such. But it's a great visual to see how people are actually using your videos. Another really popular tool that we have is actually seeing popular videos and video usage as demonstrated by how many times a page is visited versus how many times something is played. So you can see here on the right-hand side, you can see in the red how many pages have been, or how many times a page has been visited, and then the aggregate of that across your program, as well as how many visits you had as like single logins by an individual person who's authenticated. And then you have how many plays, which is the lowest figure here in orange right now. So you can see it's a great visual, but you can also really dive in and you can start filtering. You can export things to Excel. Most of these reports really are exportable, so you can actually share in presentations with your colleagues. Moving forward, I did see somebody ask about PDA performance. This is a very specific page that's great and showing how many times a PDA license is activated or triggered. And then just to reiterate, a PDA activation or PDA trigger is when you do have from different IP addresses, 4 consecutive plays of 30 seconds or more that actually activate a license. So that means you have to have 4 different logins, from 4 different people playing a video for 30 seconds or longer, in 4 different sessions. So we're very careful and very specific and precise about how we do define that to make sure that it's fair for both the supplier as well as fair for you, the librarian, and your program. And then I did want to quickly just let everybody know that in case you haven't really heard about Kanopy and what we've been doing in the last couple of years, I did want to reintroduce that we have updated our user experience, and we've improved it so that we've streamlined it for a better experience for faculty, staff, and students. I'm just going to do a really quick overview. You can see here a brand new homepage. If people do land on the homepage and they're just browsing to look for a particular video for class, this is something that they'd encounter. It's a lot more streamlined, very great for visual navigation. If people are landing in or curious about a specific title, in this case, they're entering in the inclusion search term, you can see there are different types of filters that they can activate, but then you see an automatic filtering of all the different titles depending on what parameters you set. So this is a brand new search feature. It's quick, it's lean, it's great. People are really enjoying what they're experiencing with this new search feature now. And then we've got a brand new streamlined, very simple pared down video page, which is great for just viewing, going in and going out. You can see a clear demarcation for the trailer, and you can see here actually one of our popular titles, since we've actually acquired it from, or since we've actually gotten it from Criterion Collection, which is Paris is Burning. That's a very popular title right now. And then within the page, once they play, you see the video player here. There are a number of new tools, including a live transcript tool, which basically allows, as you watch if a particular film, you can see the transcript on the right-hand side of all the words actually being spoken as they appear on the screen, which is great for citation. And we have tons of tools that are available, like the citation tool, like adding things to video, which are available when users do register for an account, which is optional. All right, and then just lastly, before we head into some Q&As, I'm going to mention some great events and promotions, which are great value adds, especially if you are a Kanopy customer, but it's open to everybody. So the first one being, we have a cinema series which we highlight a particular film during every part of the series. This May 2024 pick is called Finding the Money, and we are having a Q&A with the economist and former Senate Budgetary Committee Budget Committee Advisor, Dr. Stephanie Kelton. She's a pretty vocal advocate of modern monetary theory. We're going to also be having a Q&A with Miriam Poitras, the director of this documentary, which basically explores, you have a handful of really up-and-coming or up-and-coming and also experienced economists who are basically trying to re-examine how we examine the national debt, as well as what the nature of money really is. It's a highly controversial viewpoint, but it's very eye-opening, and it really just makes you kind of wonder, what is money? What does the national debt really mean? There's going to be a really a very compelling discussion next. Let's see, it's actually 2 Wednesdays from now on May 8th, but for Kanopy customers only, you can preview it with your entire campus for free between the dates of Monday, May 6th and Friday, May 10th. And then I did have to do a little plug because Dr. Stephanie Kelton was featured on The Daily Show last Tuesday, just 2 days ago. It was a riveting 15-minute conversation that they have on that show. It's a really interesting introduction to modern monetary theory. But if you'd like to be a part and actually ask questions yourself about modern MMT, modern monetary theory, you can do that with Stephanie herself by registering for the Q&A. The QR code is there, or you can click the link that was submitted in the chat. A few more things, just in case you didn't know, we do have some great resources available for use in case you wanted to promote your Kanopy catalog. We highlight very specific thematic things every month. The first being April, which is Arab American Heritage Month, where we highlight really our set of films that we've particularly curated for this collection. You can also see for next month, we have Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, AAPI Heritage Month. We've highlighted some really great films like Everything Everywhere All at Once, another more quiet meditative type film like Columbus, but you can see our programmed this theme this year, which is a fantastic resource of different types of titles and different perspectives on AAPI month. And then coming soon, we're really excited about this, Films for Pride Month, which is June in the US. We do have some new films that we've got geared up. And even more exciting, for the first time ever, we're partnering with GLAAD to pick out their top 10 Kanopy films that they are really big fans about. So stay tuned for that as we actually develop this a little bit more. But if you'd like to, you can view all the available resources that we've just mentioned here and more, except for the Pride Month that's coming soon. You can scan the QR code or click the link that was just sent in the chat. And then lastly, here's your chance to win a $1,000 Kanopy credit. We're having our streaming trends survey again. So the last time we did this, I believe, was in 2022. And a lot of things have changed since 2022. So we want to make sure we're hearing from everybody what your experience is with streaming media or streaming video. And we really want to know from all the industry leaders like yourself, how your experiences are going, what your wishes are for that. You can go ahead and you complete the survey, and for your time, you enter a chance to win a $1,000 Kanopy credit. We are closing this off at the end of the month, so you have a few weeks to basically fill out the survey for that chance to win. But we'll also notify you when we develop our white paper that we create right after this, and once we actually collect the results and start analyzing them. So we're really excited about what's changed, what's stayed the same, what our new feelings about streaming videos and streaming media is. So please take a little bit of time and give us some of your thoughts and lend us your thoughts. So and with that, that's the end of my section. I'm going to hand it back over for some Q&A.
Great, thanks, Josh. Yeah, we have about a little over 10 minutes for questions. So I'll just encourage everyone who hasn't submitted a question yet, feel free to do so. To start, we just have a couple questions pre-submitted here. So first question is, what is the spend commitment that Smart PDA programs now require? And I think Emma, maybe you could handle this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So to address this question, when you start the SMART program, the budget that you commit to it must be used in full by the end of your program term. It's pretty standard practice. In the event of underperformance, we'll share data-informed suggestions for licensing options to help. But the purpose of this requirement is really to ensure that we maximize the amount of content available in your PDA and to your users, so that your PDA's performance against budget is right on target or as close to target as possible, which is our goal. Any additional budget that you'd like to dedicate to firm ordering or any other sort of ordering on Kanopy, you're more than welcome to add those funds. Those funds will continue to roll over year over year as needed, but the SMART commitment, what is committed to the SMART program, should you sign up for it, is a must to use in full.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And another question here, can I add titles to my PDA? And Jerry, I think this one's for you.
Yeah, you definitely can. There are 3 ways to add titles to your PDA pool on Smart PDA. The first way is any titles that are requested through the Kanopy dashboard. You can just add to PDA instead of purchasing up front. You can email a CWA, your assigned CWA, to include that into your PDA pool for you. Or we recently launched the ability to add a title to your PDA pool on your end through your Kanopy dashboard in your admin account. By going through the My Titles page and then the Title Curation tab, you can either include, mediate, or exclude any title.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so now we can move on to some audience questions. So I'll just encourage everyone to submit a question if you haven't yet. I know there's one question that's been submitted already that I think Emma and Angela have answered, but I might just pose it again just so we can have it on the recording. So this is a question from Pam, who asks, how do you find out who triggered the PDA purchase? And maybe Emma could start and then Angela could follow up on that.
Sure, yeah. So to find out who specifically triggered the purchase, it would be based on IP address and it would be some investigation on our part. But as mentioned, the PDA trigger mechanisms are the fourth view of 30 seconds or more from a unique IP address in a 12-month period, are our trigger mechanisms. So if you're very curious as to who that fourth access was that triggered the purchase, you can reach out to our product support team and we're more than happy to help identify that IP address. Um, to help you out.
Great. And then Angela?
Hi. So we don't really know exactly who triggered it. We just kind of work on an assumption that, so I look at how the title wound up in the PDA pool. Like if there was a title request associated, I look to see if there is an instructor or a course related to it, because sometimes people want it for research or they want it for some other reason, in which case we don't really know. But in the case that there is an instructor and there is a course, I'll then look at our current course listings to see if it's offered again or if they're teaching a similar course, because it's likely that it was the same instructor. And then depending on how many titles I have to get through, sometimes I'll look even closer to see if the PDA activation was like all the views are during the same month, because it's more likely that if they're all in the same month and we're talking about like 30 views, it's probably that it was assigned for a class.
Mm.
But yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Let's see. A question maybe for Matt and Angela. Just how are you marketing or making students and faculty aware of Kanopy? If you have any initiatives or work on that.
Angela, you want to take that?
I mean, as far as I'm aware, we aren't really marketing it too much. It's more of like subject librarians are making their faculty members aware that it's an option. And we are, what, 3 or 4 years in now? So people have kind of caught on.
Yeah, I would say that usually the way in which people are made aware of collections on campus tends to run through the subject liaisons. And, we can only kind of lead people to the water, if you will, because each subject librarian here has distinct relationships with their departments, and so some departments have a specific person that is the channel, whereas other subject librarians have access to the entire departmental listserv or maybe even invited to departments. So it really is up to the subject librarians to communicate it. It's kind of like, so recently we signed a transformative agreement that's capped with Wiley. And so, the question of publicizing is tricky because it's like, well, we want to make sure we're staying under budget. And so we don't want, we just want use to happen naturally. And we want professors to be aware of Kanopy being a resource for curricular streaming use, but we also don't want to have every single student who wants to watch a Criterion film, and then all of a sudden, the expense balloons. So it's similar with like a capped transformative agreement where, if we told the entire campus and made this major announcement that we have access to, that everyone could publish openly accessible on Wiley, and based on what our historical average is, now that everyone knows, we might see significant jumps. So there's it's a complicated decision on how much to publicize versus, So just that's a question to the group too. If anyone has any better ideas on how to do it, I'm more than happy to entertain them.
Yeah, thank you. We actually have a related question that just came in from Sarah, who asks, any marketing ideas for a small academic librarian with only one librarian with no access to departmental listservs? I'll just throw that out to the group.
So one way that we have a communication person internally, and so we have we call it Dateline here, but essentially it's like a daily digest of what's going on campus. And so he is able to write up something, and we have a pipeline to embed an announcement into that daily digest letter. So I don't know if Sarah has access to a mechanism at their institution to do so, but there are distinct ways of getting the word out. I worked at University of the Sciences in Philadelphia before here, which was 2,000 person FTE. And, over the summer, there was always a training for new faculty, or kind of refreshers, and getting in the room with those and just having a library session about what's new, what's available. You're not going to hit everybody, but at least you can get 10 to 20 new faculty, in the room to potentially broadcast to. So I think that trying to get into the professional development opportunities for new faculty and or training for regular faculty before the semester starts is always a good place to try to get your foot in the door.
Mhm. Great. Okay, and Darla adds, we use a library blog and social media to market. Josh, does Kanopy offer any marketing tools to help as well?
Oh, I'm glad that you asked the question. Yeah, we actually do update our resource center. We did actually put in a link there in the chat where you can actually download things like social media graphics for X. Can't believe I'm calling it X, Insta, TikTok, all sorts of different platforms. So we try to keep updated in terms of what you can send out to students and faculty. So it can be great for listservs. It can be great for, of course, social media, but we also have in-library screens as well as, campus screens around campus. We do have downloadable screens for that as well as printed out flyers if you still like to do some hard copies of things for specific uses. So we've got tons. Just check us out using the link that we provided in the chat.
Great, thank you. And another question, does Kanopy partner with any size university? Or is there, do you focus on larger institutions, small?
Everybody and anybody that would like to be that would like to start a catalog with Kanopy is welcome. It just depends on your FTE. So depending on what that size is, we can develop a program for you, and we can put you in touch with an account rep if you do have some more questions about that. And of course, you're always welcome to a free trial and a walkthrough of our front and back end product.
Great. And let's see, Wendy, you talked about popular subjects on Kanopy, but are there certain subject areas that Kanopy is trying to expand its collection in?
Well, as I mentioned, our most popular gender studies, race and class studies, film studies, media studies, these are all very topical subjects that have new titles coming out, every year, every month. So we're definitely building on those collections, and especially because they're important to our customers and to their students. And they seem to really resonate within curriculum. And I think that they add something to curriculum that you can't necessarily get from a textbook or, another reading assignment. But other than that, obviously, those are our big ones, but we are putting a lot of effort into our, smaller sections, although not many of our sections are all that much smaller, but sciences is a new one, sort of STEM content, definitely trying to put a lot of time and effort into STEM. And then, just, history, health, any of the things that, can help in curriculum across the university where video is going to, create value for that course.
Great. Awesome. Okay, I think we're pretty much at time here. So I'll just say thank you so much to Emma, Jerry, Wendy, Angela, and Matt, and Josh for taking the time to speak with us today. And thank you to our attendees for your questions and your comments. I'd like to remind our viewers that we did record today's program, so be on the lookout for a follow-up email from Choice and ACRL with a link to the recording. Also, if you have a few minutes after the presentation to fill out a brief survey, we would really appreciate it. So thanks again to all of you out there for joining us. We hope you learned something new from the webinar and hope to see you again in the near future on another session.